So where we went with that was assuming that that it was a priori that if one party wanted the divorce, the other party was just out of luck. And so my counseling to them would always be, this is real unfortunate, it's terrible. It takes two people to create a marriage, but it only takes one to leave the marriage. And so you don't have any control over that. So what you'll benefit best by doing will be to begin focusing your efforts and energies into participating in the process and getting through this and healing from it. And one of the conversations we're having now is that a doorway that lets us into this is that same language that there's been an irretrievable breakdown. And so it's a valid conversation to have with clients to say, one of the things you'll have to say to the court is that there has been an irretrievable breakdown in your marriage relationship. So we need to take a little bit of a look at that to make sure that when we are making that assertion to the court, that it's an accurate and honest assertion. And we recognize that a common presentation happens that one party will be the reluctant spouse. One party will have gone through a process where they'll become divorced, and they'll grieve and they'll do whatever they need to, and then they're ready to go forward. And the other party is left with going through all the stages of grief and that Kubler-Ross has talked about. And it's a disservice, it's a tremendous disservice to one party to not be emotionally ready to grapple with the issues and deal with the issues and be expected to put themselves in the position of starting this conversation of how to end the marriage when they haven't had any say in the choice to end it or how to end it. So that gives us a little bit of an opening, and then we're looking at where we go from there to develop skill and expertise to assess on a scale for what their readiness is. And if I'm working with the spouse that wants the divorce and has no interest in reconciling, I can still talk with them about the importance and value of slowing down enough to give their partner a time to adjust to this and to acclimate and to accept it. And I can tell them in all honesty and sincerity that it will benefit them to have their spouse in a place emotionally where they can work on this process, rather than being in a place where they're just feeling violated and not able to participate. I see the future of this project for reconciliation to lead us to a place where we can become more attuned to the healing property of collaborative law. In reality, the law has been a healing profession in the past, but it's moved to a place where it doesn't feel like a healing profession when it became so adversarial and opposing. Stu Webb shared an experience years ago that touched me, and he talked about some clients that he had, and after he was working this as a collaborative case before we had even created the model, but he had found another attorney, and so they put it together in a very supportive way. And after the decree was entered, his client, the wife, called him and said that they would like to talk with him. And so they set up a time to come in, and I remember him saying he's wondering what they would want to come in and talk about. And if I remember correctly, they showed up and they had a bottle of wine, and they had a plant, and they had some things that they had written out and put together. And they told Stu how much they appreciated the process that he had created, that it allowed them to heal as they went through this. And that they had put together this little ceremony and they wanted him to be part of it. And part of this ceremony that they did involved each of them releasing the other from their wedding vows and telling them that they wished them a good, healthy life and to go forward and to have peace and happiness. And then they took the plant and they separated it into two plants and repotted it, and they each took a plant and they had a toast. I thought that was just powerful. I really liked that. And I started thinking about the possibility of having that kind of a closure service or ceremony available. And we've been dabbling with that and talking about it for 10 or more years now. And it dawned on me that that's part of that same healing process, that we don't have to wait until the end of the divorce in order to trot out. That we can have a sensitivity at the front end of this and perhaps help people put this into their cognitive awareness and have it be incorporated in the process as they go through, so that it will end in this way. And in this process just touches me as being a tremendous opportunity for healing. I also am a realist and recognize that probably most of our cases, many if not most, are going to end or be involved where we simply broker the agreements of the parties that they can submit to the court rather than letting the court decide their issues, and that these things the parties won't choose to get involved in. And if that happens, then that's the way it is, and that's pretty much the standard practice now. But I have an awareness as well that if we are sensitive to this, and if we provide this opening, if we provide this opportunity, that substantially greater numbers of people will be brought into it and will be enhanced by it and will go through it. So for some people it will mean that they'll reconstitute their marriages, and their marriages will become more healthy than they were before, because there certainly isn't any value to going back into a poor relationship. For others, they'll still end up getting divorced, but they'll leave the bitterness and rancor behind, and they'll go forward in a healthy place. And that's something I want to be a part of. I'm just aware that the collaborative model provides an opportunity for our clients to participate in this process they call synergy. Stephen Covey talked about that in his 7 habits, and the 6th habit was synergy. And when I started thinking about this several years ago, I went and pulled the book out and I looked at that chapter, and he indicated in there that synergy was the most important concept of the book. And indeed, he said that the preceding 5 habits could easily be said to exist for the sole purpose of allowing synergy to take place. The 7th habit, of course, is sort of a throwaway. It's sharpening the saw, just taking care of herself so that we don't get burned out. And he made a comment in there that you'll never find synergy in a court of law. And I said, yes, that's true. And you do find that in collaborative law, because parties engage with one another in this process that resolves the issues of their marriage. And when they do that, they find creative resolutions that could never happen if one of them did it alone, even if they tried to be as magnanimous as they possibly could be, because it needs to have the people involved in it. And in my latest awareness has been that the professionals that participate in the collaborative process are also beneficiaries of that same synergy. And that's one of the greatest parts of what collaborative law is all about, because as we interact with each other, I can just see the envelope being pushed out, being pushed out, being pushed out. And that's a fascinating place to be. And it's allowed to happen at a breakneck speed that's never been accomplished before, where we had to wait and read the literature and have some conversations with people and just move at a snail's pace. And now we can have those conversations live, and the attitudes shift and change right in front of our eyes.